And we've got a great host or hostess. So I'd like to hand it off to Dara.
Good morning. Can you hear me in the back? Higher? Okay. Oh. I'm probably going to make this up. TJ, is that better? No? Louder? Trisha, can you hear me in the back? Yay! I can't see anybody else in the back. I'm too short. John, can you hear me in the back? Good morning. So I have the pleasure of introducing one of my favorite people this morning. Stacy Sacco is here. He's a lecturer of entrepreneurial studies at UNM Anderson School. He's also the director of the UNM Small Business Institute, and I spent so many hours picking his brain the other night about that. Publisher and host of New Mexico Network Links. And upcoming, this July, is it the 16th, Stacy? 15th of July is the annual Marcom Mixer. And he's a principal consultant with Sasco Connections, LLC, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about that this morning. So please, let's give him a warm welcome, Stacy Sacco.
So I, as a good professor would have, I brought a handout, so if you don't mind handing those out. And I've seen this slideshow behind me break up a couple times, and I thought, no, I've got a lot of stuff to cover in 6 minutes, so I'm just going to speak from these notes that I'm handing out. So, in any case, delighted to be here. I had the wonderful pleasure of last week going to the Kauffman Institute training for the Ice House entrepreneurial training. So I'm one of the about 7 certified trainers for that now in the state. But where did I go Wednesday? To their 1 Million Cups, which, oh, by the way, we're 1 Million Cups started. So I actually got to meet a couple of the founders. And I was so excited to say, I'm speaking next week at ours. So I got to go to the mother ship and see how that all comes together. So very, very exciting. What I wanted to talk about today was, and as I said, I wear lots of hats. One of them is I've been helping people a long time, about 15 years, helping people with some aspect of consulting, whether it's connecting them to somebody or to provide information. And a lot of that I've done for free. I've actually, because I was named the best guy to have lunch with in Albuquerque, the magazine. And I keep thinking everybody thinks, well, I'm going to buy. Maybe that's why I got on that list. But anyways, I now have 178 invitations to lunch. So it's pretty crazy. But what's happened is that I've had a couple of folks in this past year who wanted to talk to me about working on more of a contract basis to do some marketing. And I've been getting some more projects where I've been doing public speaking and getting paid for that. As opposed to, I do a lot of training, and I'm actually on faculty at UNM, Webster, CNM, and University of Phoenix. You can't believe that, but I'm actually on all 4, although my primary employer is UNM. But because of that, and because it's other type of training, I thought I better get myself a business license so the governor won't come after me for taxes, because she needs a lot of money up there. So I'm helping out, right? So anyways, this first page and what I'm talking about here is a little bit about what I'm doing in terms of Sacco Connections, and this is the new license. That picture's me with the auspicious group of 2012, I guess it was. I was the one of the speakers in the TEDx program here, so that speaks to my idea that I do more public speaking. Anyways, consulting work I'm happy to help people with on a paid basis, developing strategic marketing PR plans, fairly high level, and then making C-level connections. I actually have 2 contracts right now, so I could probably add 1 more, but I don't know. I'm teaching 6 classes this fall, and I got a lot going on. So I'm kind of already booked, but anyways, if anybody needs any help with something, I'm certainly happy to meet you for lunch if I can, and then also, if it's a more extensive request, I would want to do it on a quoting basis. So anyways, also doing a lot of public speaking, and for all of you that have seen me do some public speaking, I keep track of all my public speeches. This second page here is my list from this year so far. I have a similar list that goes back 12 years. So I've been, since I moved back to New Mexico, speaking at about 20 to 50 programs every year. It's up to about 5,000 people that I get in front of. And mostly what I speak about is networking, because I have NM Netlinks and some other resources that provide information regarding networking and connecting to more people. I also do some speeches on guerrilla marketing and sales. I actually would love to, if I could do it this summer, I don't know how I'm going to get it done, but I'd love to offer some job hunting workshops. So I'm working on, I have all the material, it's just finding a date. And then I've talked to several people about ebooks that I could have behind that. So there's a huge need here, and I do hear from people because that NM Netlinks, I have 3,000, Eric, can you put it up? I have 3,250 subscribers, and quite a few of them are job hunting, and I'm happy to help people find jobs, so that's part of what I do. I have lots of background in lots of areas, but mostly it's marketing. Worked in Fortune 500 corporations, taught at UNM for 15 years, last 12 years I was nominated for Faculty of the Year. I feel like Susan Lucci and the Emmys, I've never won. I'm trying. I never won. It's okay. I teach at Webster for the last 10 years, Wednesday nights in their MBA program, on and on and on. And now I have the Kaufman training certification behind me. And just so you know, I actually am an entrepreneur behind this. My wife and I are partners in a winery here in Albuquerque. And we also manage her mom's art collection. So we do a lot of art gallery showings. And there's a lot of things we're doing on behind the scenes that you might not know about. So anyways. So that list here is the projects I've done. And then let me just talk a little bit about NM Netlinks because it's a huge resource for you guys. Basically, there's 2,000 links on there, and one of the most recent lists I've added is this one, the Albuquerque Entrepreneur Ecosystem, which is pretty much all the programs that are related to what we're doing now. There are other efforts to put together lists and calendars. I know Autumn Gray's here. The city's got a great program coming up. Very excited about what you guys are doing to bring together some other things, some things I'm not doing as much. I do send out an email with different interesting calendar items, but these guys have a really snazzy calendar, so you definitely want to check that out. What's the website, Autumn? Okay, so definitely go there. For other calendar items, statewide is bizcalendar.org. That's the state's website for that. Some of that's listed here under calendar. So you've got lots and lots of resources. I laugh because I left and went to California and Orange County for 20 years. When I came back, a lot of my friends think I'm in a witness protection program. Like, why would you move to New Mexico? There's nothing to do there. Well, we all know there's lots to do here, and this is a great way to measure that. There are 500 professional associations, over 500 meetup groups in the Albuquerque area. My goodness, there's 17 chambers of commerce. I just spoke yesterday at the Gay and Lesbian Chamber. There's so many different ways to get connected here. So if you're a small business owner and you want to get connected to resources, my gosh, this is a great place to start. What Autumn's doing is another great place. There's lots of resources. So definitely don't think there's no one here to help you. We're all here to help you to get moving. The other thing I started several years ago, because back in Orange County, I started the American Marketing Association. And we did a lot of efforts where we brought groups together. When I came here and I mentioned that to some groups, there was a little bit of a scarcity model, I think, in New Mexico. It's like, well, why would we do that? Sort of like we have this pie and you take a piece of the pie, you're taking it away from me. Well, we got to get out of that mentality. We need an abundance model here. We need to be focusing on all the wonderful things we can do. It's not just one pie. There's lots of pies. How about if we bake a cake? Come on, guys, let's make it bigger, right? So, one of the things I did was I brought together the 10 marketing clubs at the time. Didn't know if it was going to come together. I didn't have a lot of money to do it, so we ran out of food pretty quick, so we had mostly drinking. I remember the next day I got all these emails. My favorite one was Gene Grant called me going, oh my God, that was the most coolest party, and oh my God. Well, you were drunk. We ran out of food. Anyways, so we had a great time, but that was more about really professionals getting together to talk about their needs in terms of these associations. So I brought together the 10 groups. There's AdFed, American Marketing Association, Public Relations Society of America, and on and on. I'm hosting now with Albuquerque the magazine. They've really taken on the yeoman's work of pulling this together on the back end. I'm the guy who has to get people in the room. So this is the Marcom 11. Oh my goodness. And if you'll love the little picture here, this was Laryl having fun. He put me in. I'm not even sure which character I am. And then Lisa Atkins is in the back. Where are you, Lisa? Did you see your picture? It's pretty cool. So anyways, very excited about that. These are all the groups that we've invited, and it will be here at Fat Pipe. We've always put it at a hotel or Vernon's, which was insane. And then we did it at Albuquerque the Magazine's office. Insane. So maybe we'll be a little less insane by bringing it here, because this is a wonderful space for this, and we're very excited to bring in some additional groups this time, Albuquerque brand starters, and some of these other groups of WordPress, but more focused on the next level of where marketing's going. So it's about the new technology and new areas of interest. Because I wear another hat, I do teach at UNM, and I appreciate that you called me a lecturer. Actually, I think of myself as a professor, but I'm not a PhD, so when the PhDs hear me being called professor, it's kind of like, you're a lecturer. Okay. Got the message. Anyways. Yeah, well, good. Thank you. I get beat up on that. I don't know why. Anyways, so I'll go get a PhD, then they can quit complaining, right? I need another thing to do. Actually, I'm thinking I'm going to start a new group. Maybe you all want to join. It's going to be called Overcommitters Anonymous. Who wants to join? You know, I always worry when people say that. Yeah, I want to join. I'm like, I know you. You're pretty overcommitted, dude. Come on. Anyways, so one of the things I run is the UNM Small Business Institute. What we do there is we put together business plans. Well, I shouldn't say it. Business strategies. I hate to do business plans. If you're going to start your own business, write your own business plan. I'm not going to write it for you. But we do marketing strategies, research. This is one of them. It's about 150 pages. This is going to look, for any of you that were ever in the corporate world, this is going to look an awful lot like what Yanklevich used to do for $15,000 when I was the head of marketing at Hyundai. This is $500. You come to us. Now we get 6 students in the MBA program to put that together for you in 16 weeks. And it's a great program. We've helped over 600 people. I don't know what we've done with those 600 people, so I hired a researcher this summer to go through all of the 600 or as many we can find and see what we've done in terms of economic impact. So we're very excited about that. We're also partly working with Sol over there, who does the business plan competition, and we're looking at his several hundred businesses that have come out of the business plan competition. We're looking at how many really started a business, how many created jobs, what kind of sales did they create. So we're going to do an economic impact study this fall. And it's just started this last week. In any case, if you would like to have us work on something for you, the deadline is in August, and there's a place here to sign up. Just to let you know, I got money from Bank of America, $15,000. So if any of you have a nonprofit, I can do some of these as a scholarship or sponsorship to you through B of A. Delighted they did that. They're very excited about helping any niche groups. So if there's anybody that's a veteran, woman-owned or ethnic-owned, it's just this whole idea is they're trying to really help us help you to grow your business. So talk to me. We may have money for you, just so you know. The other thing I get involved in, because I've taught, 87 classes after my day jobs, and I have 2,000 students. I'll have about 300 students this fall between my 6 classes. I'm connected to a lot of students, so if any of you are looking to hire a student intern, this is that page. It's the last page in the package I gave you. There's UNM, okay? And UNM Anderson has about 1,500 students that are available. Some are working already, but certainly you put your job description into Kate Williams, who runs our career services. She can get it out to our students. Because I get that request so often, I put on NM Netlinks a piece here called How to Hire a Student Intern. Where are you? How to Hire a Student Intern. So that's got a job description. You can just take it from there and go. And then last but not least, I am going to be heading up the TEDx. I'm on their board. That had nothing to do with this, but I am the TEDx ABQ curator, co-curator with a couple other folks for their salon this October 8th, my birthday, and we're going to do the Entrepreneur Salon. So it's a repeat of what we did last July. So I will be looking for about 5 local speakers. So if anybody's interested in being a TEDx speaker, come see me. We have a little bit of a vetting process, but very, very excited to support our entrepreneurial community here with another TED program that's focused just on you guys. So anyways, last but not least, because I just did this, I went to the Kauffman Institute, and for any of you that know much about this, I would really recommend you go to this. It's about $2,000, and you go to Kansas City, and it was a wonderful experience. This is their program for businesses. They have another one for academics, and basically what they're doing, just so you know, this is interesting because a lot of our programs that are in the state, I worked at West, there's SBDCs, ABQID, all of these programs tend to be focused on, you've already come with this whole idea of a business you want to start. We're going to help you manage that. We're going to help you do a business plan. That's not what Kauffman's about. Kauffman's the there's like, they call it 3 steps. The first step is, are you interested in even being an entrepreneur? What makes a great entrepreneur? So they've done tons of studies on this, and that's what this is about, are the 8 components or attributes of a great entrepreneur. Not necessarily that you're going to start a business. Maybe you're an internal entrepreneur, an intrapreneur. And so it's about those qualities. So anyways, happy to help talk about this and share a little bit about Kaufman. But it's all about becoming an entrepreneur. So very exciting because we have lots of need for that. So thank you very much.
Questions for Stacy?
Yes. Oh, the E200 program, yeah. Oh, better. Wow. I need to pay you for that one. Wow. When's your next program? And you take about 20 companies, 15 to 20? Yeah. Oh, I put it in there that I'm an E200 instructor. You know, what's great about the E200 program, they work with this curriculum that's basically like getting an MBA. You go every month you go to a meeting for 12 months, and they go through 3 components. It's strategic planning for your business, finance, and marketing. Actually, there's a 4th component. It's the HR piece, I'm sorry. But it's amazing curriculum. You guys beat me up. I mean, that was tough stuff to teach from because it was so detailed. And what a great resource to the community. And most of that's, you pay for it, right? I mean, so you're scholarshiping in, is that a word? Scholarshiping in all these different small businesses. So great resource. Yes? What's that? Oh, you're reaching to the sky. You're stretching. That's a good idea. Anyways, if there's any other questions, yes. Hey. And you got those from which other school? No, anyways. Wow, you're awfully generous. I appreciate that. No, you know what? It's always a little bit of a hit and miss. I teach that sales class, which you come and speak to quite a bit. He's one of my favorite speakers in my class, and it's fun because I have a lot of people come in and say, "Well, I want to hire your sales or your students from your sales class. Who are your stars?" And I'm like, they're thinking all of them are stars. No, it's like any population. There's a few that are really great and a few that are not. So the only thing I would say, and it's tough, and it'd be interesting to talk to you about what was your process for qualifying them to come to your company. I mean, because some of them can fool you too, but like we all can, but in any job hunting or when you're interviewing people, but to the degree that you could put in some behavioral questions or questions where you pre-qualify them before they come in, I think that would help. I had D.W. Turner here was going to hire some students. We talked about it. A lot of that person's job was going to be on the phone. So part of what we built into the job description was that, or the application process was that they had to call him, and it was a job interview. The first job interview was on the phone, so he got to see what they were like or hear what they were like on the phone. And that cut a whole bunch of them out. So there's some of that. And I don't know how, you'd have to really think through what that job is, and can you sort of select out, it's probably more the other way. Who can you get out of that system? So anyways, I don't know. We it's tough. It's tough to hire good people. So anybody else? Yes. Hey, Renee.
So you and I have talked a lot about networking and the value of that, especially for job hunting. But can you share kind of your opinion on that and the value of it, not just for jobs, but for entrepreneurs and I think a lot of people don't realize?
Oh, okay. And just so you know, we were all on the AMA board, so the original job list I put together, it was really her and I. So she's to blame anyways. And there's several other people here that were on the front end of Marcom, Alexis Kirshner and some others. So we all don't do these things alone, just so you know, right? But in any case, networking in my mind is about 3 or 4 different things. But real quickly, the key thing is to have a strategy, and I think that starts with who do I need to meet? So maybe 2 or 3 attributes of who it is that you're trying to reach. And then where do they go? Again, you have 500 professional associations, 17 chambers of commerce. Where are they going? So you want to go to those groups they're involved in. And then further down in, which meetings? For example, the Rio Rancho Chamber has 10 meetings pretty much every month. But if you want to meet young people up in Rio Rancho, you're going to go to the Visionaries. It's every second Wednesday, right? If you want to meet the senior people that work in and head up most of what's going on in Rio Rancho, you want to go to their gala or maybe their annual luncheon, because that's who's going to be at those meetings. So it's who do you want to meet, which groups, which meetings, and then once you get to the meetings, I think it's really all about having this wonderful dialogue, not about sports and not about religion and not about politics, and get off of that, and not about necessarily scripting a thing where you hand them a card and do this whole, oh, you need printing? Call me, let's do lunch. Really? Stop with that. That's California talk. I mean, that's what they used to do over there. Let's do lunch. Anyways, no, it's really about having a dialogue about what their needs are and whether it's their pain or problem or passion, and where can you help them. So it's not about you selling. It's more about how can you help people? How can you give back? How can you be part of a solution for them? And that's a different kind of a dialogue or a different kind of a conversation. You're probably not going to sell a damn thing at any networking thing. Just get over that. What you're doing at those networking things is beginning relationships where you'll meet offline. You're sort of pre-qualifying people there. And then it turns into another discussion some other time, or where you'd meet in their office or whatever. Is that kind of what you were thinking?
I just think that a lot of people don't have a strategy. I think
Well, and I will tell you too, when I go to a meeting, you know, I look like a social butterfly because I'm running around, but it's partly because I just know so many people. But quite honestly, my favorite way to network is to go in, have 2 or 3, either people I've thought about I want to meet because they're on their website, they're my board member, and then I love to go to the president. I'll go to, like, Eric's running these meetings, Tara's here. So I'll meet you guys and say, hey, I need to meet Renee. And so then she'll bring me over to you. So it's a warm introduction. Then you're like, who the heck's this guy coming over with Dara, right? So I try to make it so that I have people introduce me. And then, but it's really starting with, I go with a goal. I go with, I want to meet 3 people, new people. Maybe I have them targeted. So there's some things I can do around controlling that time. If you really think about it, guys, you're not here on the planet that long. I did a TED Talk on that. But if you go to 1, 2 meetings a month, I'm 59. If I work another 8 years, 7, 8 years, I'm going to work. I'm not retiring, but let's say if I did, and it was 7 more years times 2 meetings, so it's 25 a year times 7. You know, it's a couple hundred meetings I'm going to go to before I'm done working. So I better make sure that every meeting's amazingly cool and great, and I'm meeting all the right people. So I don't go to meetings willy-nilly. I don't just show up. No, it's part of a plan. So, and you all, and if you think that way, you've got lots of resources here, like what I said Autumn's doing, what we're doing, or I'm doing. There's other places you can find those target groups and ways to get to those specific people you're trying to reach. You wouldn't believe what's here. There's a lot. So, anybody else? One more question. Yes. Oh. So the question is, what's the mindset of an entrepreneur? And related to probably just we have too many inputs. I know there's, what is her name? Liz Davenport does a speech here. Maybe you've seen it. It's about order from chaos. And she's a right-brainer talking about how to be a left-brain person in terms of managing your time. And she looks scattered because she's just an exciting, enthusiastic person. I have no think that she's ADD. I don't believe it. She's just an exciting person. She's an entrepreneur. Same kind of thing as most entrepreneurs. So how do you manage your time? And I think part of it's... Oh, your mindset. Oh, I think it's... Well, we talked about that a little bit in Kaufman. I think it starts with the goal, and you have just make sure if you have a goal about what you want to be as a business and bring that to reality in terms of what you're doing. So what we say in sales is the ABC of sales, always be closing. You're always moving it forward. There's it depends on which author. There's 6 steps to sales. One of the professors at UNM did a thing, 64 steps to choosing a dentist. Really? I think my teeth would hurt by then. But anyways, but the idea is that you're always moving that forward. You never make a sale on the first one, so it's always moving forward towards your goals. And I think that mindset is part of that. It's about the goal orientation. I had a professor at University of Arizona who said to me, I said, he's just an incredibly successful guy, one of my favorite teachers. He said he has a poster over everything he wants to get involved in, so like the TV, and he made up this thing, and it says, is what you're doing or about to be doing getting you closer to reaching your objectives? Is what you're doing or about to be doing getting you closer to reaching your objectives? So I made up a bunch of those sheets. I had them on the refrigerator. I had them on the TV before PCs, and so I had them everywhere. But it's about objectives. That's the key word in there. What's your objectives? And I think that mindset is what's driving you. What do you want to get done? Most of us are here 5,200 weeks. That's 100 years times 52 weeks. My TED Talk, I have 1,008 more Wednesdays until my expected life. 1,008, not a lot. So, but I'm going to make them great. 1,008 Wednesdays. Watch out. I'm going to make them great. So I think the mindset is about being focused on your goals. Does that answer your question? Okay. Well, we can talk later. Yeah. Anyways, delighted to be here. Thank you.
We do have one question for you.
Oh, yes.
That we always ask.
Okay.
So, as an entrepreneurial community, what can we do for you, Stacy?
What can you do for me? Okay. Well, if I had any little piece of what I'm doing here, I'm trying to really push Marcom Mixer. If anybody would let people know about that, that's great. I don't mean to make it that way, but that I'm advertising something. I do need some help with my website a little bit, and I'm working with Real-Time Solutions. But I've been talking to some different people about sort of resetting my logo. I have a little bit of what I'm doing is a little scattered because I've just come at it from different angles, but I need to have some unitary stuff where I have Sacco Connections as a logo, etc. So if anybody has any interest in talking with me about that, I sure could use some help with that. So thank you.
So every week we like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, and then I'll hand it over to Eric. So thank you to Sabio Systems. Come on through, Paul. Thank you to Sabio Systems for providing coffee this morning. Thank you to Stu and Lisa at Fat Pipe for providing the space. And thank you to Nick Lehman Media, who's live streaming this morning's presentation for those entrepreneurs that couldn't make it. So maybe I'll turn it over to Eric. Yeah.
Fewer cooks in the kitchen tonight, or today, this morning. A few different announcements to make. Cara, you're on deck for just a quick announcement. So it's Entrepreneurial Wednesday. Lots of fantastic stuff is happening in town. Always is. So ABQ ID, they've got a speaker series that's just been knocking people's socks off. Today they've got a local guest, Eric Paradis, who's talked with this group. He is a co-founder and CEO of ABQ Newscastic. Great local company. He's going to be talking from 2 to 3 p.m. Following that, from 3 to 5 p.m. is Entrepreneurial Office Hours. Great opportunity to meet folks like Stacy, like some of the great folks here in the audience who are capable of helping your business move forward, whether it's idea stage, turning that into something real, or something that's already been going, but you want to take it to the next level. Entrepreneurial Office Hours is a great opportunity to do that right across the street at ABQ ID. Also tonight, tons of meetups. I'll just mention the ones that are tonight. So there's both ABQ Web Geeks and the Albuquerque Tech Enthusiasts. If you go to meetup.com, you'll find both those groups. Great opportunities if you're looking to connect with web designers, developers, other folks in IT. Also coming up, what was the date on Marcom? What's the Marcom date? July 15th. You've heard about it. Awesome event. It's going to be taking place here. Really, it's one of the best networking events of the whole year. Stacy puts on a great show. It's fantastic that it's happening down here in the Innovation District. So great stuff with that. We've already thanked our sponsors. That's amazing. I will also say that abqic.com, if you go there, you find plenty of information about what's happening in our neighborhood. She did some great stuff with Creative 505, a lot of different things going on about making our neighborhood more active and exciting down here in downtown Albuquerque.
Yes. Hi, guys. I'm Kara, and I'm working with the Albuquerque Convention Center and Civic Plaza, and it's called Civic Plaza Presents, and we're doing events this year to reinvent downtown, essentially, rebrand the Civic Plaza as a family-friendly destination. We worked on Creative 505, and it was amazing. It was very successful. We brought out about 1,500 people. And basically what I'm asking all of you today is if you're interested in being part of this event that's coming up. It's called ABQ Kids Rock, and it's a children's festival, and it's going to be on August 1st from 5 to 9. And it's a similar kind of situation where we're asking businesses to participate as either vendors, and they can sell something that they've created, food, things like that, or a business could, like Fat Pipe, could come down, and we're asking them all to set up some sort of a carnival game for kids because we're raising money for APS school supplies for the upcoming school year. So it's kind of a carnival theme, and there'll be music and tractor beer and food trucks and a lot of other kind of friendly kid things, like carnival themes. So if you're interested in being a part of that, I would love to talk to you. Come talk to me, and I'll get your email address and send you all of the vendor information and help us reinvent downtown. Thank you.
Excellent. Seamless handoffs. So I mentioned ABQ ID before. ABQ ID, I think with between that and creative startups and some of the other things going on in town, there's really now an opportunity to accelerate businesses. So the introduction of accelerators into our local ecosystem is something that's really taken Albuquerque and opportunities for business to the next level. Yeah, we just want to can this one. So one of the great entrepreneurs and one of the great companies that's part of the second cohort with ABQ ID is Equiseek. Paul's got a great story about how he arrived at this new startup, and we'll be sharing that in just a minute once we figure out some of our technical issues here. It's like we're using a really cool Instagram filter, right? This is sort of, somehow futuristic, somehow a little bit, yeah. The information will be good. The colors will be a little bit off. Yeah, exactly. If you...
Or we could put the PowerPoint onto that machine. Let's do that.
All right. In the meantime, so how many folks, this is the first 1 Million Cups that you've come to? Excellent. We've got some great new folks. I appreciate it. How did you hear about this event? Maybe two or so of you. How did you hear about what's going on in here this morning? Stacy? Does Stacy put out some information that you find valuable that helps connect people in our town? Excellent. Great to hear. Different thing, so one of the other things that's great in the community, we heard from them, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, is Tazas, which happens every Thursday morning over at the South Valley Economic Development Center. There was some really good, good news coming out of Albuquerque Business First just the other day, talking about some of the growth that's happening between Rio Grande Development Corporation and SVEDC, touching on Tazas, but that's the bilingual sort of version of 1 Million Cups, a great opportunity to learn about other startups that are happening, other new ventures that are happening in our community. So that's another outstanding thing that's going on. I want to give out a quick shout out to Nick Lehman. He was featured last night on KRQE. If you go to KRQE, we just posted it on the 1 Million Cups Facebook page. But basically his New Mexico Valor project, which you've heard a little bit about before, that was featured last night. So check the video, check some other information. Nick's a great part of the team. And now, very, very cool. See, and Fat Pipe ABQ exists to really enable all sorts of great things. That's right. This is the kind of service you don't expect from just any co-working or collaborative workspace. So Lisa's going to be heading out of town for a little bit. So I think that, hopefully the community doesn't totally crash while that happens. But in the meantime, Fat Pipe will be here to serve you, and we'll still be here next week. And now, we got to do the whole gather windows thing again.
Wrong presentation. One more time. One more time.
Dun, 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 dun. So any questions about 1 Million Cups? So 1 Million Cups, as actually Stacy's touched on, so basically we've been running this since, I want to say, August or so of last year. It's actually one of the more popular ones across the country. Not a competition, but, excuse me, sir, do you have a question over there?
I've heard a number of these things, and it seems that the presenters sometimes have the needs that the audience can provide.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious from the people that have companies that have needs, what has held you back from reaching out to some of the folks that provide those kind of services, whether they're web development or marketing or so thinking maybe it's perceived cost, maybe it's
Yeah. Good question. So I'll see if I can recap or something. So there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of expertise in town, but and one of the themes I think that's kind of gone across the board is really some of these services, whether it's recruiting, whether it's HR, whether it's accounting, all of these, web design, development, all those kinds of things. There's a lot of great talent, a lot of great companies that are available locally, but oftentimes it's like somebody's not, or entrepreneurs are often saying, well, there's maybe a perception that that's too expensive. Is that correct? Well, I'm not quite sure. Is that? That's the question.
what has held the entrepreneurs from going out and seeking those services? There's some entrepreneurs here.
So, if you're an entrepreneur who feels, I mean, the question kind of comes back to the sort of the perception of need, right? So I think you're not necessarily knowing to ask the question. So there's like a question behind that, I think. If you recognize that you have a need for these kinds of things, is there something that's holding folks back from looking out? Yes?
I think I can answer that. I have an idea. I'm retired. I don't have to work. I have an idea. I think it's valuable. And a couple of people in this room know of my idea, but I'm intimidated to pursue it further than I have because there's so much brain power and knowledge and experience in this room that I'm intimidated and I'm stalled. Am I touching on what you're...
So, it's one, I think, a reasonable example, sort of saying that there's maybe something of an intimidation factor for folks who've got ideas, but they recognize that there's a lot of people that they might be able to talk to, but sometimes just the number of different organizations that are available to help, it's like, oh yeah, great, there's 40 organizations that are willing to help me. How do I get started? Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if I share my idea, somebody who's smarter and more energetic might steal it, and I'm left alone.
So a different perception or a different question is sort of about let's see, is somebody going to steal my idea? So that comes up in a lot of areas. I mean, the sort of the standard answer there is that it's really all about execution. So however you've conceived the idea, chances are very good that you're the best person to execute it or to put the team together because you understand it. Renee's nodding her head because she had a great idea. She brought it to a startup weekend, and I don't know but it was like your vision for this thing is the thing that really drives it.
And I'll just add real quickly because I know you're ready, but and I'm in this program with Paul, and it's a great program. And what I love about 1 Million Cups, ABQ ID, and Fat Pipe, and all these wonderful resources is that it gives you the confidence, the support, the push to take the next step and the direction and the guidance. And I felt nothing but supported and safe in sharing my idea and having people give me input and help develop it. So I will tell you that I'm very
I know. So one quick sort of little recap and then we'll hand off is, so this event, one of the things, so me and the other people who are organizers, we're relatively well connected in the community. Come see us afterwards. You know, typically we're here for 30, 45 to 2 hours after the meetings, by the way. There is sort of, if you choose to stay during the day, it's sort of open co-working as part of this. But coming to this kind of thing, folks like Dara and me and Steve and Nick and whoever else is part of the team, we're really pretty good at triaging and giving a kind of a quick, okay, this is where your problem is, you're at this stage, where do you need to go? Same thing in entrepreneurial office hours. So the folks at ABQ ID and some of the other folks that are in the room there, we're able to say, okay, so idea stage, here's what you want to do in order to get that moving, and you want to talk to these 3-4 people. Because it is intimidating, and we recognize that. So what we're trying to do with this event is trying to make it a little bit more welcoming, make it a little bit so it's not that intimidating, where at least there's a few friendly faces who you've seen relatively often. So hopefully we're doing a little bit of that. And I would be glad to talk more about that later. But one of our best local, I don't know, just sort of innate entrepreneurs, I think, is Paul Sauter. And the story he's going to tell you is going to be far better than anything that I would say about him. And then I'll say good things afterwards. So, Paul?
Thank you. So let me add to that last point. Just go to ABQ ID open office hours and talk. And if you're afraid of someone stealing your idea, I mean, I'm not. If you want to steal my idea, please follow me around for 3 days. If you still want my job, you're nuts, okay? All right, so this started because cutbacks in federal discretionary spending forced me into the private sector. And I decided to start a business. I started a business through STC, UNM's tech transfer office. And what that business consisted of was licensing a couple of patents to build a new DNA sequencing machine. And a little bit of the time into that, I realized that the business model was to burn $3 million over the course of 2 years with no products, services, or customers. And after reading a few books, I figured out that was not lean startup, and it was not going to get me into ABQ ID. So I had another book called Game Storming. We had an emergency ideation session, 4 2-hour sessions with some fantastic people. And we were looking for an application of genomics in a niche market where genomics had not yet penetrated. And this is what happened. It's warmer over here. So what does a great business opportunity look like? Deep blue ocean. A niche with nobody else in it. No regulations. Clear sailing. Consider the sport of kings, horse racing. Horse breeding is stuck in the 19th century. A number of great breeds have been ruined through poor breeding practices. In thoroughbreds, which is the top of the market, 83% of their genetic material is derived from only 31 ancestors. Every generation, they lose a little bit more diversity. Thoroughbreds were started with 3 stallions a couple hundred years ago. It's not enough to keep it going. So we want to do for horse racing what science did for yacht racing and Formula One. We want to build a super horse. We're Equiseek. We analyze the genetic material of horses to provide horse owners with information on health, performance, and breeding. So who's our market? They're educated, often with advanced professional degrees. They're affluent, with high incomes and substantial net worth. And they're passionate. When they decide they're interested in something, they go all in. Does anybody know what the record price ever paid for a horse that won the Kentucky Derby was? Take a guess. $2 million? $60 million. $60 million for a horse. So the bond between horse and rider is very strong. And horse owners want to know the information that'll help them keep their horses healthy. They want to understand performance traits so that horse is optimal for the task that it's being used for. And they want to understand breeding. How are those traits for health and performance going to be passed to offspring, and who is the best horse to mate that horse to when they're breeding? So we're actually easier to understand than you might think. if you're not familiar with genomics. Equiseq is a software company. So at its core, you already understand what it is. It's a database, powerful software, and a user interface. The difference is the input, instead of being a Twitter feed, is DNA. DNA is code. Okay, so that's the tube that's the size for a standard blood draw from a horse. There's enough DNA in that sample to completely analyze the genetic material of a horse 400 times over. So DNA is code, and we have a team with the talent and the technology to read that code and to translate that into something that horse owners can understand. So when that program is executed, it builds a horse, and that's how DNA works. So the other problem is, how do we make complex information accessible to users who are not necessarily trained in veterinary science or science of any kind? So horse owners should be able to understand our information. This is actually the bigger problem than decoding a horse, trying to figure out how to translate, my native language into the language of horse owners. We want to make things easy for our customers. And so speaking of customers, this is our first customer. This is Heather and her horse Mojo. 24 hours after we finished the ideation session and came up with the business plan, Mojo, who had a long and distinguished career over 23 years, died. And my colleague, Bob, is Heather's husband. She's not only an equestrian, but also a veterinarian. He runs the business end of their veterinary clinic, and he and I were colleagues in bioinformatics at the Jackson Laboratory. So he called me and said that he and Heather wanted Mojo's genome to be the foundation for our company. And Mojo's genome is coming off the sequencer this week. And we're not charging Bob, of course, because he's going to do about $50,000 worth of bioinformatics for us for nothing. So we're not charging him. So Mojo was sired by Easy Goer, a legendary thoroughbred from the 1990s. So that's some quality DNA. So there are a couple of milestones for our company. This is a conceptualization of one of the important things of our website. So imagine that you have a mare, Clear Sailing, and you're considering a match to the stallion Lean Startup. If both of them have public genetic profiles, you'll be able to import them into your screen and push the breed button. And this is a very short summary of just the top of the health traits that we'd be checking for. And floating to the top, you'd see that this match is expected to produce 25% foals that are affected by an untreatable genetic disorder that would require the foal to be put down in 2 years. So you do not want to breed these two horses. So you want to select another stallion for your mare. And where do you do that? You go to bloodhorse.com. So this is how thoroughbreds are bred. There's a market, and you float to the top of the leaderboard by having the most earnings from your offspring as a stallion. And the second milestone from our company is this. Imagine that there's a link to that horse's genetic profile at Equiseq. You want to breed your mare. Do you want to breed your mare to a stallion with a public genetic profile, or do you want to breed blind? As soon as this happens, everyone is going to have their horse done by us. And the era of blind breeding is over, and we'll go home with all the marbles. Thanks. I'd be glad to take any questions. Yep. Well, right. The question is, how does anybody know that we exist? Well, right now they don't. Okay, so the next horse in the pipeline is a 10-horse project. And we're screening this both for scientific merit and for publicity value. So we're going to make that evaluation. And then for ABQ ID, you could have asked the planted question, ask me about our second horse. So here's one angle. I'm glad you asked about our second horse. This story starts with a couple of crazy guys in New Mexico. And they bought a horse that originally sold for about $9,500, which is not a lot of money for a thoroughbred. And they trained him for a while, and then one day they loaded him into a horse trailer and drove 1,500 miles to Kentucky. The year was 2009. The horse was Mine That Bird, and he won the Kentucky Derby at 50-1. So I've contacted this vet. He's at the horse is at he's a trail horse in Roswell, Kentucky Derby winner, and we've offered to sequence him for free. The vet's a little busy because they made a movie last year based on that horse's story called 50-1, and around the time I contacted him, that had just come out on DVD, and I highly recommend that movie. My pitch is that I've been in front of a lot of VCs, and they tend to say the same things to us. You're a couple of crazy guys from New Mexico. You have a little company that no one ever heard of, and we give you long odds, right? So that's my planted question. So the more serious answer is that we think we can crack an inherited disease in horses that's not solved. In quarter horses are required to have genetic testing for 5 inherited conditions before they're registered. This weekend I'll be in Amarillo at the American Quarter Horse Association event there, and we're going to try to see about cracking one of the diseases and getting it listed as a required test. So then people know about it. No, but I did go to Albuquerque Downs for the Triple Crown win, and I have to tell you, there's been some great times at Million Cups, but it was not quite like that, right? Yeah. Yes, cloned racehorses, yes. Okay, sure. So, the question is about cloned racehorses. So the first thing you have to understand is that the thoroughbred industry, the reason that they have this inbreeding problem is they protect themselves from outsiders. Now, if we're up to me, I would run those races like the Olympics. I mean, if you want to, throw shot put in the Olympics, they don't ask you if your grandfather did it, right? You're a human being, you can run the Olympics, right? So, to me, if it's Equus Caballus, you just let it run, right? But that would destroy a lot of vested interest, and they protect that. So right now, yes, it is possible to clone horses. And cloned horses, however, cannot be registered as thoroughbreds because they want naturally born horses. And actually, I agree with that. Clones are not healthy, the first generation. The reason that they clone horses is, in Mine That Bird's case, for example, before his talent was discovered, he was already a gelding. So he can't be bred, but he could be cloned, and the clone can be bred, and those could be registered as thoroughbreds. So it's a way of not losing the line. So for that application, yeah, I'm all in favor of cloning. A race a cloned horse? No. I'm going to side with the industry on that one. Yep. Carfax. So like middleman, right? Well, we're rating a horse, right? We're providing you with information on its genetic profile.
Carfax's model wasn't to go to the car dealers and get them to.
Right. Yeah.
They went to the consumer. Is there a parallel way that you're kind of marketing to?
Sure.
Horses versus.
Yeah. So how are we marketing this to the consumer? So my background is that I did. Anyone know what 23andMe is? Yeah. So I did 23andMe. It was a direct-to-consumer company. You could have your own genome done in a limited way, and you could learn a lot. And since I was teaching genetics, genomics, and bioinformatics, I thought it'd be great. I could use my genome as an example. And, that got me thinking about, like, what if we had 23andMe for horses? So there's sort of different niches here. There's a group of people we think of as casuals. They have a horse, maybe they don't even know its ancestry, and they just want to know, where it's from and what do they do to keep it healthy, and they might want a genetic profile. And then there are people who are seriously interested in breeding, and that's a completely different game. And they're going to want to use us and our breed calculator to see what they're going to get. Yeah.
So kind of going along with that question, did this come out of, was this, you were in the shower and you discovered this, or was it game time? What was it that sort of turned Legacy into this? Because
Yeah.
the customer segment you're going after here.
They're cool, huh? Yeah. You like the dressage lady, right? Yeah. So where did this come from? Okay. So we went into a game storming session, a set of game storming sessions, and all I wanted was a niche that genomics hadn't really penetrated, and that we didn't have too much regulation. So if you look at the human market, the regulation is crazy. There are companies that are $100 million companies that sell one little piece of equipment that sits between a needle that goes into your arm and some instrument. So the human market is outrageous. So we didn't want to be part of that. And I thought we were going to do some kind of microbiome thing, maybe food safety or agriculture or something, but we put everything possible up. We drew a picture of your passage through life and everything that happens to you and everything you do, and then we put a sticky note wherever there was a genomics angle. And, you know, so the way that game storming works is you think you have the problem specified, and then you put a bunch of smart people in a room and you mess up the problem. You mess up the edges of the problem. So now it's no longer a tidy problem. And you toss and turn at night and people argue with each other, and then people say, yes, but, you know, yes, and, you know, we could do this, and wouldn't it be cool if we did that, or, you know, that thing that you said makes me think of this. And, you know, you don't even know whose idea it was at the end of this. So it's a way of, you know, so there's been a lot of bashing of brainstorming because there were some stupid things written about brainstorming in the 90s. And so game storming is a way of taking a brainstorming session and getting it to close. How do you evaluate those ideas and how do you rank them, and then how do you go through a second round of that? So it really came out of a pretty intense session with some pretty amazing people. Some of whom are here, right?
Well, it sounds like there's more to the story because you said you had a friend at the Morse.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So the happy accident of how do I have a friend who worked with me in bioinformatics and was also a horse owner running a veterinary clinic. That's just one of those things, man. The universe is put together that way, and just like when you're on the carousel and the brass ring is there, lean out and grab it. Okay, that's what can I say? Anybody else? Yep. Right. Right. Is Blood Horse actually doing this yet, or is that a projection of gold? No, that is a Photoshop fake, and that is aspirational. Blood Horse does not know that we exist, but when there are genetic profiles available on our site, we will contact Blood Horse and offer that service. Yeah.
Last question.
So this is international?
Why not? The question is this international? Why stop at planet Earth? I mean, anywhere where there is equus caballus, we will be, right? Yeah. So, you know, why shouldn't it be international? That actually raises kind of a deeper question is, what's your intellectual property protection? And people I talk to about this are surprised when I say everything about analyzing genomes is public domain. So the machines, there's patents on the machines, of course, but all the methods of analysis have been developed by academics. And if you listen to Peter Thiel, where all the money that's created is X and the fraction of the money that's captured is Y, the fraction for scientists is 0. The people who invent these things never capture any money, and they're all available as public tools. So how do we protect ourselves from competitors? This is not really a very practical idea right now, but by the time it is, we will have all the data. So this is a data sprint to get the most horses. And once we have all of the proprietary data, and we will never release raw data for even a single horse to the public. We present an executive summary to the public. So it's a data sprint, and the server that has that data will be in a Faraday cage air-gapped from the internet.
And the last fairly quick question, how can we as a community help you?
How can you help me? Everyone who's accredited, raise your hand. No, this is not a solicitation for the purchase of unregistered securities. But talk to me later. So how you can help me is, you know, I talk to a lot of people and they go, oh, I know somebody who has this connection to horses, or and I say, please connect me with that person, and the rate of connection is low. So if you own a horse, or you know anyone that owns a horse, or you know someone that bets on the horses, or any connection to horse that you are direct or indirect to, please put me in touch with that person, because I don't know anything about horses, and I'm supposed to get out of the building and talk to people who do. So that's my ask. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, two great presenters. I want to thank our presenters this morning, our team, but also especially you. Thanks for coming on a weekly basis. If you know of other companies that should share their story, talk a little bit about their company, and maybe learn a little something about how to grow that, please have them apply, 1mcabq.com, and we hope to